I never imagined I'd be the guy who turned a quiet suburb into a war zone. But there I was, standing in my driveway at 7:32 a.m. on a Tuesday, watching pure chaos erupt. 3 police cars flashed their lights. Neighbors in bathrobes clutched their ears. And right in the middle of it all was Helen Baxter, the HOA president, her sleek blonde ponytail practically VY bratting with fury as she screamed about property values and pointed at my garage. The cause of this madness? A massive, V-Wine-Tage Firehouse siren I'd mounted above my garage door, which had just blared at a bone-shaking 130 decibels for exactly 8 seconds. "You're done in this neighborhood, Tom Harper!" Helen shrieked, her voice cracking as it tried to compete with the siren's fading echo. "This is harassment, domestic terrorism." Behind me, I felt a tug on my sleeve. My niece, Sophie, stood there, her eyes wide but her lips curled into a sly grin. She signed quickly, saw worth it. Saw I nodded and signed back, saw totally worth it. Saw. Officer Daniels, a guy known for years from Firehouse calls, approached, barely hiding a smirk. "Tom, I'm going to need you to explain this one," he said, clearing his throat. "Of course, officer," I replied, my voice dripping with innocence. "Just testing my historical display. Must have been a glitch." That's when Helen lost it completely, and honestly, I couldn't blame her. I'd orchestrated this entire disaster. But to understand how a 42-year-old firefighter with a clean record ended up in an all-out war with his HOA, we need to rewind 3 months. It all started when I inherited my parents' house in Willow Creek Estates. I'd been VYing in a downtown apartment near the fire station, renting this place out, but now I was back, and my niece Sophie was coming to stay while her parents worked overseas. Sophie's deaf, and I needed to install exterior alarm lights tied to the smoke detectors to keep her safe. Simple, right? Wrong. At my first HOA meeting, I sat in a creaky folding chair, already regretting every choice that led me there, as Helen Baxter smiled like a predator eyeing prey. "Every exterior change needs board approval, Mr. Harper," she said, her voice sugary but sharp. "It's in the covenant you signed." I explained Sophie's situation, how she'd be here in 2 weeks, how these lights were a safety must. Helen tapped her manicured nails. "Rules are rules. Submit the forms mock-ups, specs, aesthetic integration statement." I looked at the other board members, hoping for a shred of empathy. Most stared at their shoes, except Greg Larson, who gave me a weak shrug. "How long's the process?" I asked. Helen's smile widened. "We're VYEW applications monthly, but today's meeting is underway, so you'll wait till next month." That was after Sophie's arrival. "This is about safety," I pressed. "Perhaps you should have planned ahead," she said, dismissing me like I was a kid who forgot his homework. That night, I vented to my brother, Nate, over the phone. "They're just lights that flash with the alarm," he said, baffled. "Not a Vegas billboard." I sighed, sprawled on the couch in a house that still felt like Mom and Dad's. Dad passed 3 years ago, Mom last year, and now I was learning the hard way that in HOA land, safety bowed to curb appeal. "Sophie needs those alarms, Tom," Nate said. "She's fiercely independent, but she can't hear smoke detectors." I'd already ordered indoor bed shakers and strobes, but the exterior system was critical for the backyard or garage. "I'll figure it out," I promised, feeling the weight of Sophie's trust. Hours of research revealed HOAs wield insane power, even over ADA accommodations. A lawsuit would take months we didn't have. So, I gritted my teeth, filled out the forms, and started the soul-crushing process of documenting a basic alarm system. 2 rejections later, one for incomplete information, another for aesthetic concerns. I was at a diner, staring at my latest rejection letter over my 3rd coffee when Officer Daniels slid into the booth. "You look like you're plotting to burn something down," he joked. I snorted, just wondering how many smoke alarms it'd take to deafen this neighborhood. He grinned. "HOA troubles? Let me guess, Helen Baxter." I nodded, spilling the whole story about Sophie and the alarms. His face darkened. "That's messed up. You try the ADA angle." "Yeah, but a lawsuit's too slow," I said. He leaned back, thoughtful. "Reminds me of a case in Pinewood last year. Guy kept getting fined for wind chimes, but they couldn't enforce it because of a loophole about historical items. My ears perked up. What loophole? Daniels glanced at his watch. Gotta run. But hypothetically, if something predated the bylaws or was a historical display. He tossed cash on the table and left with a wink. I never said anything. Sophie arrived the next Saturday, a poised teenager with a sharp bob dyed blue at the tips and our family's stubborn streak. She dropped her bags at the airport and signed. Saw did you fix the alarm lights? Saw my ASL was rusty, but I managed, saw working on it. Indoor alarms ready. Saw her face fell for a split second before she plastered on a smile and headed to baggage claim. That night, I woke at 2 a.m. to Sophie shaking me, her face pale, pointing to a chirping smoke detector with a dying bacteria sound she couldn't hear but somehow sensed. It hit me hard. This wasn't about beating Helen. It was about Sophie's safety, her dignity. I had to act. HOA be damned. I cornered Greg Larson in his garage, away from Helen's Sunday patrols. Bring up my case at the next meeting, I urged. They like you. Greg nearly choked on his beer. I'm on a board because I don't make waves. Helen only keeps me around because my wife does her taxes. Come on, Greg. Sophie needs this. He sighed. Helen's got dirt on everyone. Last year, the Millers tried solar panels, and suddenly their daughter's speeding tickets were neighborhood gossip. My stomach sank. She's got a file on me? Greg gave me a look. You rented this place out for 2 years. Think all your tenants were HOA angels. Still, he agreed to try, but warned, don't hold your breath. The HOA meeting was a disaster. Greg pitched my case as a reasonable accommodation, but Helen was ready. We sympathize with Mr. Harper's niece, she said, her voice ice cold. But we can't set a precedent. Next, it'll be wheelchair ramps clashing with our aesthetic. I couldn't stay quiet. You're comparing safety to paint colors? Helen's eyes narrowed. You're out of order, Mr. Harper. I stood furious. This is about a teenager's safety. It's about property values, she shot back. Your temporary guardianship doesn't justify permanent changes. The room went quiet when she added, perhaps this isn't the right community for your nieces. Needs. Rage boiled in me, the kind I hadn't felt since my rookie days. I was ready to unleash hell when Greg's subtle headshake stopped me. I took a breath. I'll submit another application, I said tightly. Next month, Helen called as I stormed out. And unauthorized changes mean due like 200 daily fines. Desperate, I consulted an ADA lawyer, Lisa Moreno. They can't block a safety modification for a disabled person, she said, but fighting it takes time. Time Sophie didn't have a toaster incident had already caused a scare. Lisa grinned. There's always creative compliance. What does your covenant allow without approval? I remembered Daniel's hint, historical displays. Now you're thinking, Lisa said. Officially, keep applying through proper channels. I smiled. Officially, enter Vince Russo, the contractor I'd hired to half-finish my kitchen. You want a what? He asked, eyeing the 96-pound, 1950s Firehouse Siren my dad had salvaged from Station 12. A historical display, I said. Wire to power, but hypothetically, if someone tied it to an alarm system. Vince grinned. That'd break every noise ordinance, but it'd alert someone who can't hear. You got it, Sophie. HOA folks are something else, he muttered, agreeing to mount the Siren, disguise the wiring, and make it look decades old to predate the bylaws. Weather aging, strategic rust, he said. I know a guy. Helen's unannounced inspection was a showdown. This wasn't your application, she snapped, glaring at the Siren. Didn't submit one, I said calmly. It's a historical display for my dad's Sayre VYC. Covenant exempts those. She scoffed. That's no plaquettes, an industrial noise machine. It's non-functional, I lied. Just decorative. Vince had made the Siren look ancient, the wiring in VY Cybele. I'd even photoshopped old family photos to show in the background and got Greg and 2 neighbors to sign Affida VYTS, swearing it had been there forever. Helen's eyes burned. We'll discuss this at the board meeting. Can't wait, I said, tossing in, how's that non-regulation birdbath investigation going? She stormed off, her SUV peeling out. Sophie and I settled into a rhythm over the next 3 weeks. She was whip-smart, set on studying CIVYL engineering, and endlessly patient with my clunky ASL. One night, she signed, saw wise HOA lady so mad, saw I laughed. I'm bending her rules with the siren. Saw not broken yet, saw she signed, grinning. Saw when? Saw soon, I promised. The moment came faster than planned. I was showering when Sophie tried the toaster oven, and something went wrong. I smelled smoke, raced downstairs in a towel, and found the kitchen hazy, Sophie frantically unplugging the flaming appliance. I doused it with an extinguisher firefighter habit, but the smoke detectors blared, and the indoor strobes flashed. If Sophie had been outside, she'd have been clueless. She sat at the table, defeated, signing, saw didn't know. Couldn't smell it. Saw I signed back, saw not your fault. Need better alarms. Saw she asked, saw will HOA say yes? Saw I couldn't tell her they wouldn't. Instead, I signed, saw backup plan. Trust me. Saw her smile lit up. Saw always trust firemen. Saw. That afternoon, I sent one last HOA appeal with photos of the smoke damage, knowing it'd fail. Then I handed Vince a bag of alarm components. Integrated today, I said. He raised an eyebrow. You're really doing this? Yep. HOA's gonna bury you. Probably. By nightfall, the siren was wired to our alarm system with a phone-activated trigger. I told Sophie the plan, and she was thrilled, her special earplugs ready for the VUI Brattians. The next morning, I texted Greg. Saw everyone at the 9 a.m. meeting? Saw he replied. Saw full house. Helen's on a VUI olations rant. Now's your shot. Saw Sophie gave me a thumbs up. Saw ready? Saw I signed. Saw ready, saw she signed back. I opened the app, took a deep breath, and hit the button. The siren's wail was apocalyptic. Neighbors poured out, hands over ears, as Helen sprinted from the meeting, screaming. Police cars rolled up, and Daniels fought to look serious. Tom, this VY OLAT's noise ordinances, he said. Just testing historical equipment, I said solemnly. Helen exploded. Lies. He did this on purpose. I pulled out my AFIDA VYTS. This siren's been here decades. Covenant exempts historical items. Her face turned purple. You fake those. Right on cue, Lisa strolled up. Fraud's a bold claim, Ms. Baxter, she said, as is VY OLATing the ADA by denying accommodations for Tom's deaf niece. She waved a folder of EVY Denke. Greg stepped up. The board denied Tom's applications repeatedly. Neighbors chimed in Mrs. Ortiz about her rejected ramp. Mr. Coleman about his denied access lift. Lisa pounced. Sounds like a class action case. Helen's control crumbled as the crowd turned. Daniels cut in. We'll ensure the siren's only used for emergencies. I promised. He nodded. Anyone need a doctor? No one did. He turned to Helen. File a complaint? She glared at me, deflated. This isn't over, Harper. But it was. By the next week, Helen skipped an emergency HOA meeting. Rumors said she was lawyering up. Greg led the board to approve my VY Sewell alarm system, and Vince installed strobes that covered the whole property. The siren stayed, registered as a historical display, with a plaque honoring Dad Sayre VYC. 3 months later, Helen sold her house and fled to a condo. My case sparked a wave of accommodation demands, and the HOA rewrote its rules to prioritize people over aesthetics. A year later, Sophie's parents returned to find her Thrive VY Swim team star, neighborhood friends, and a goofy handshake with Daniels, who now dropped by for coffee. Nate watched Sophie show her mom the garden she'd started. I asked you to watch her, not topple a suburban empire, he teased. I shrugged, just doing what needed doing. He nodded at the siren, now painted with Sophie's VY brand designs. What's with the art? Sophie's idea, I said. If it's family, it gets a makeover. Nate laughed. It's a statement. That's the point, I said, watching Sophie sign excitedly about her fall garden. Sometimes you gotta scream for those who can't be heard. 6 months later, I joined the HOA board. My first pitch, a disaster preparedness program with ASL training and accessibility gear for every block. It passed unanimously. The siren gets tested yearly at our Good Neighbor Day block party, with Daniel's K9 unit, Vince's killer carne asada, and a reminder that rules matter, but people matter more. Sometimes, you need a little noise to change everything. So what do you think? Was I right to blast that siren and shake up the neighborhood? Or did I go too far? Should HOAs have less power over safety accommodations? Or do they protect community standards? And what would you have done in my shoes play by the rules? Or fight fire with fire? Drop your thoughts below, hit that like button, and subscribe for more stories that'll make you think.